the best man. Pete's opinion, not mine. Right. I've known Pete for about 18 years. It was 1999 that I moved to Newport. So it's been 18 years since I've known Pete. I've liked him for about 12 of those years, and I've loved him for even less. So I moved to Wales. I moved from West Wales to Newport in 1999. My father became, as you've heard, the pastor of Malpas Road Evangelical Church. And as you can imagine, as an 8-year-old, there would have been concerns from my parents' perspective anyway, that their beautiful, lovable, wonderful 8-year-old would be slightly lonely, would struggle to make friends, would just not settle into the new environment. But thankfully, by providence really, Peter Harris attended the church that I would attend. Not only did he attend that church, but he attended the school that I'd be attending. And not only did he attend that school, but he was the same age as me, so we were in the same year group. It seemed a match made in heaven. But that wasn't the case. But if it seemed a match made in heaven, and that isn't the case, and you're now his best man, how does that make sense? I hear you ask. And that's a good question. And I'm going to answer that question in the form of, rather predictably, standing behind a piano, in the form of music. So please indulge me as I sing. And be patient as I lower the mic. Best place to put this. So I've titled this song "Opposites Attract," as it's true. I'm just going to put this mic behind the piano actually, because I'll hit it. Will it work?
Yeah.
Hold on.
I know you're going to hold it, but I think.
You will need to be patient. This side's better. So opposites attract. I'm going to go for it. If you can't see, stand up would be my advice. I want you to picture the scene. Peter's down on one knee, he's practically begging me, please be the best man for me. He says he doesn't have a brother, and he sadly doesn't have another friend that would say yes. I'm persuaded by the speech I'd give, not by the man that Peter is. And now my head's a mess, trying my best to work out how we're even friends at all. You've all been taught this as if it were a fact, that famous saying that opposites attract. Well, today I'm here to say I believe it's true. We don't have much in common at all. I'm pretty short, he's pretty tall. But Peter Harris, I've fallen in love with you. I first thought that you were pretty strange, but when I moved to Newport, our friendship was arranged. It's fair to say we didn't click at the start. I played sport, you played chess. You showed me a gecko, but I couldn't care less. But if you left me now, you break my heart. The chasm between our personalities doesn't matter any longer. In fact, I truly do believe it makes our friendship even stronger. 'Cause while you were in a choir, I was in a team. I was only 9 stone 8 and you were 15'3". Somehow we became the best of friends. I once went for a sleepover and boy did I regret it. Pete played the cello, I could barely spell it. I just thought to myself, who is this geek? I was from the west and you were from the east. You were bordering on upper class, you're middle class at least. I went home early and for weeks we didn't speak. But the chasm between our personality, it doesn't matter any longer. In fact, I truly do believe it makes our friendship even stronger. 'Cause while you were in a choir, I was in a team. I was only 9 stone 8 and you were 16'3". Somehow we became the best of friends. So Peter, tell me, how did you pull this off? I'm now best mates with someone whose blood type is Stroganoff. It's a great line. I've forgotten the next one now. It doesn't make sense, it's logically so wrong. But if I'm your yin, then you must be my yang. Tell me, how did I befriend a Presbyterian? It must be fate, we were destined all along. The chasm between our personalities doesn't matter any longer. In fact, I truly do believe it makes our friendship even stronger. 'Cause while you were in a choir, I was in a team. I was only 9 stone 8, you were pushing 17. Somehow we became the best of friends. For oh so long, you just didn't get along. I'd say that cliched line, it's you, not me. Now 20 years on, I'm here singing you this song. I wanna make it clear it was definitely you, not me. The chasm between our personalities doesn't matter any longer. In fact, I truly do believe it makes our friendship even stronger. While you were in a choir, I was in a team. I was only 9 stone 8 and you were 17. Somehow we became the best of friends. Somehow we became the best of friends. So the way, thank you. The way I like to think of it is as two soulmates who had to fight through adversity to find each other. Or, I'll put it another way: a strange young boy who grew up to be a little less strange, thus becoming acceptable in my eyes. But being best mates with Pete has many highlights. It really does. And one of which is the fact that you get to see him at such close quarters and in various scenarios. And he really is, from a comedy perspective, the gift that keeps on giving. This speech could honestly go on for hours and hours, way into the night, well into the first anniversary. But I'm going to be long, but not too long. I've managed to cut it down, and it's been a tricky few months because some great stories have not made the cut. And if you weren't exposed to Pete from the age of, let's say, 20 or earlier, then please come and speak to me later. I'll happily fill you in on some of those stories. But they include the time that Peter passed out after eating a particularly hot curry, as David mentioned, the time that Peter would ask specific questions in biology lessons for which the answer was purposefully sperm. Childish, I didn't find it funny. The time that Peter managed to lock himself in the church, not once, for hours, not once, but twice. I think that was his parents trying to tell him something, but he didn't clock on. The time that I pranked Peter by smearing cat food on his bed sheet. He slept the whole night without even noticing. I asked him about it in the morning. He said, I sniffed it and I figured it was chocolate. And the time that Peter inexplicably left us on a night out to meet up with his good friend Zach, who we later discovered doesn't exist. So you've married a weak, clumsy, unreliable liar. But I don't want to tell those stories, that would be too easy. So I've decided to tell a story that I don't think Pete even knows about. I don't think he knows about. And a story that he will not remember, even though it brings a smile to my face every time I think of it. And I'll start with that one. And I want to take you back to 2004. It was he played rugby in school, Emily, if you don't believe me. It is true, it's hard to believe. But he played rugby in school, and it was our school team were playing against a particular school called Reed Velen from Pontypridd. And this was a significant game for me because my uncle was the PE teacher and rugby coach for that school. And obviously, I wanted to impress, not only with my own personal performance, but I wanted to win. It was important. I wanted to impress my uncle. So we were deep into, this is one for the rugby fans really, we were deep into the second half of the game, with moments left in the game, trailing by a few points, and a try or a penalty, you don't remember this, do you? A try and a penalty would secure victory. We were in possession of the ball in our own half, on our own 10-metre line, and we were awarded a penalty. The ref blew the whistle sharply, awarded a penalty to ourselves. And being the captain, I rushed over to the referee to ask whether there would be enough time to kick it into touch, to advance up the field, and therefore gain the ball in a better position for us to score a try and win the game. Or would we have to take a quick tap penalty? Before I'd even finished speaking to the referee, from the corner of my eye, as if it was happening in slow motion, Peter, with all the confidence in the world, picked up the ball, took the tap, sprinted towards the first defender, and on the point of contact, knocked the ball on, and the final whistle blew. We lost the game. But I think the reason I like that story is because it captures so much of who Pete is, Emily. You've married a man who is he's a born leader. He is a man who does not shirk responsibility. He is a man who looks at challenges and takes them on. He is a man who is courageous, he's brave, he's often deluded, he's unaware, he's incompetent, and should not be allowed anywhere near a sporting field, as Alex will testify to. Now the second story is one that this is the one I'm not convinced Pete knows about, so this might come as a surprise to him. It was a typical Saturday night. Well, not typical, because Naomi Powell was not on the scene, and we used to hang out with Naomi Powell every Saturday night. But so myself and Alex, we were hanging out, we were trying to get hold of Pete. He was being very elusive this night, not picking up his phone, not replying to texts, and we were getting a little agitated that, he usually hangs out with us, where is he? So, it was around about exams period, so examination period, and being the third child of the Harris family, he had the particularly heavy burden of following the footsteps of Libby, who excelled in all things. So he did revise quite well for a boy. So we thought, he's revising. So being good friends, we thought that if that is indeed the case and he's been revising all day, he needs a break. So we decided, we took it upon ourselves. Alex drove the car to Pete's house, and we were welcomed at the door by Libby. I think we disturbed her from her revision. There were no exams even. She just loves it. And anyway, she informed us that Pete was watching a show or a play of some kind at the riverfront is it called the Riverfront? The Riverfront in Newport, which is a kind of a hall theatre in Newport where you go and watch a show or a play. She suggested that she went with someone, but didn't specify who Pete went with. So we didn't press any further, not because we weren't interested, but rather because we were heading straight to the scene. So without further ado, Alex drove masterfully with a heavy foot towards the riverfront. We were keen to find out who on earth Peter was hanging out with, and so we kind of concluded it couldn't have been a friend, because Alex was with me, I was with Alex, and other than Naomi, who we knew was busy, he only had 3 friends. So we thought he has this mystery girl, and we were intrigued. So we thought, and betrayed. But so we turned up and we waited. We went into the hall and asked, when does the show finish? They said in 5 minutes. We thought, perfect. So we positioned ourselves, myself and Alex, next to some shrubbery in order to be concealed, longing to find out who this mystery girl was. We did feel betrayed. Now, as we were waiting there, the people started walking out of the crowd started walking out of the building, and we thought, great, we're going to catch him with this mystery girl. And sure enough, Pete walked out of the building, arm in arm, with this mystery girl. And I hate to break it to you, Emily, she's actually here today. It was Gwenda Wiltshire, Peter's grandmother. And at that moment, Alex and I ducked below the shrubbery, ashamed of our actions. Pete had taken out his beloved grandmother, and we felt betrayed. Pete and Gwenda walked right past us without even realising that we were there, and we drove home with our heads held very low. So that's a surprise, a story where Peter isn't the fool in the story. There you go. Who would have predicted that? So Emily, I wanted to share with you some things that you may not know about Peter. You may or may not know, but you will know some of this by now. Most of us in this room are fashion followers. Sometimes society throws up a fashion setter, a trend setter, a fashionista, a trailblazer. And most of us follow the status quo, but not Peter. Maybe not so much now, but Peter was, in his own right, a fashion setter of his age. He was the first person I knew not only to wear skinny jeans, but skinny corduroy. As you've heard, he straightened his hair. I think he was the first boy who straightened his hair in our friendship group, and he was also the first person I knew to wear contact lenses that changed his eye colour. The first and the last.
You try those?
I'd like to say he looked good, but you know. Emily, you may also not know that he is an incredible endurance athlete who once ran 5 half marathons in 5 consecutive days. Round of applause, please. His heroic 5th run, and I use the verb run very loosely here, did not come without a cost. His nipples chafed so badly that they've never been the same again, really, have they? The blood streamed down his body like waterfalls, earning him the nickname Niagara Falls. But, another interesting little fact about Pete, he was a member of a 2-piece band called Grey Coats. They once gigged, they gigged only once in Llandilo, actually, for a local church's Christmas concert. But I can tell you, for one night only, we were awesome, weren't we? But to portray him as just in this way, in this light, would be not only disingenuous, but not true. If I were to end now, which I won't. So let me steer my attention towards the good of Pete. We've heard the bad and the ugly. Here's the good, and there's a lot of it. Good, bad, and ugly. So this is what you probably already know about Pete, Emily. It would be where am I here? you know that he is a kind, funny, generous, patient man. I admire his integrity. I so often value his advice and wisdom and counsel, and he's genuinely been one of the greatest influences in my life. Over the years, particularly my teenage years, I was envious, and in a good way, I think, of his ability just to be himself around his peers, and particularly the way he was so courageous as a Christian in school. As much as everyone loved him, and everyone did love him in school, he was much loved by all his peers. He did take some stick, and often stick that I often shirked as a Christian, that I should have fronted with him. But I was just in awe really of the way that he stood firm, and he was true to himself and full of integrity in that. I was often guilty of worrying about public perception, how my friends would see me, and Pete was just brave in that sense. He wouldn't challenge me. He would challenge me, but not with his words, but mainly with his actions, just by doing just that himself, by living his faith out in public, by being true and honest about his relationship with Jesus. And he wouldn't challenge me. He wouldn't challenge me with words. He would challenge me by doing that. So just as I could not commend a greater man to you, Emily, I couldn't stand here and commend a greater man than Jesus, who both Pete and I know and love, to everyone here. Pete, his generous heart, his kindness, his loving nature, all stems from that relationship that he has with Jesus. So I jokes aside here, because I can see you smiling, but I just want to thank you publicly for your friendship. You've challenged, encouraged me, and made me laugh and cry in equal measure, I think. And as much as I thought you were a bit of a weird kid when I moved to Newport, and I may regret saying this, but you're only going to get married once, so it's fine. But in a strange way, I think I have looked up to you during our friendship as a role model. So I want to thank you for that in front of everyone. And I don't want you to repeat that ever. I said it. So Emily, you've married an amazing man, as you know, and you've married into a great family, gaining a wonderful mother-in-law in Ruth and father-in-law in David, and 3 lovely sisters in Naomi, Libby, and Hannah. So I could not commend them more to you here. But from the little time that I've known you, I know for a fact that your gain is also their gain. I know that they're gaining a wonderful sister-in-law and a daughter-in-law. So I first met Emily a little less than 2 years ago, I think. And after spending the day with her, Charlotte, who is my wife, and this is 100% true, she turned to me that night and said, "I really hope Pete marries Emily." And I agreed. And thankfully today we can celebrate that marriage. And as we spent a little more time with you a few months later, we got to know you more and more, and we love you as a couple and as just a friendship group so much. And we're so thankful that Pete has married you, or that rather you've married Pete. Your kindness, gentleness and patience are all things you will need over the coming years. But I honestly could not be happier than that you've married Pete. So thank you for saying "I will" when everything inside you must have been screaming "I won't." You also look amazing today, Emily, and doesn't she, Pete? Yeah. And to find someone so beautiful inside and out is quite rare. So for Pete to stumble across you and me is... he is a lucky, lucky man. So I want to close this rather long-winded and self-indulgent speech by singing my second and final song. This is really a song mainly for Emily. For all of you, but mainly for Emily. And this second song is called simply Advice. So Emily, listen closely to the words because they will serve you well over the next few years. knot is tied, you've got your bride, and now I'm pleased to say that after years of speculation, it turns out you're not in any way, shape or form going to die alone. You both can settle down to start a family and home. But before you embark on what will be a life of happiness, I have some tips for Emily to pass this tricky test. So this is my advice to you. You're welcome in advance, these are important don'ts and do's. Never make his curries hot, his reactions are peculiar. Don't depend on his timekeeping, he has a watch, don't let it fool you. And if you ever want to give your hubby a treat, just let him hang out with Zach once or twice a week. You once could boast and brag about your surname fit for Paris, but now you've signed the dotted line, you're just a plain old Harris. Don't get me wrong, they're all lovely. There's just one that's peculiar, and by now you'll know that's Pete. If he's watching shows with Gwenda, don't ask questions, just believe it. If you're eating meals together, eat it quick, don't let him steal it. And if you don't know what to do, don't come knocking on my door, 'cause he's not my problem.